All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Thursday, December 22nd, the day of the front. It is coming, and it is coming like a freight train. We'll get into those details shortly. As you can see here, what's changed, we have some slight adjustments to the warning and advisory types and areas. We'll get to that a bit later. And the weather and temperatures near the coast, we've done a bit of modification to make it a little bit worse down there on South Padre Island, and we'll talk about that too. So it's almost here. This is the front position and the pressure pattern at around 10:30 a.m. this morning. What's really interesting to see here is that teens and 20s north of the front, wind chill between -15 and 0. And out ahead of the front, it's spring, 60s and 70s as you're feeling right now. So we'll quickly zip through the overview. No change in the overview. And on the right, no change to the sharp change that we're expecting between now and late tonight, tomorrow morning. So let's get to those details. First of all, this is a message that comes across no matter which slide you're on. Be ready by sunset today. If you haven't done all of the pre-event preparation by sunset, it's really going to be too late because this front really is going to be flying in. So smaller text here, sorry about that, we'll zip through it. The sharp change has not been adjusted at all. It's still looking at mid-70s today, down to 8 to 18 degrees by 7 to 9 a.m. Friday, and that is a 60 to 65 degree apparent temperature drop. We did put timing in here yesterday. We'll go over that again. Really no changes there around sunset, Hebronville to Sarita, but it could be as early as 4 or 5 p.m. This front did come through the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex about 3 hours earlier than expected. They tend to get rolling real quick, like trains on a train track going downhill, and that's what's happening. 8 to 9 in the valley, but as early as 7 p.m., that's where we were saying sunset. And then the freezing temperatures arriving as early as 3 to 4 a.m. in the Hebronville-Sarita area, and as early as 5 a.m. down here in the valley. The wind chill below 25, midnight, Hebronville to Sarita, 3 a.m. Rio Grande Valley. So I wanted to add some blurb here about sharpness. So here's your sunset temperatures, 60 to 65 valley, 55 to 60 ranchlands. The winds will actually shift to the northeast or from the northeast ahead of the front, but that will not be the cool air yet. It will just be a little bit cooler than we're seeing during the afternoon today. But by midnight, you're really going to feel it. Freezing in the ranchlands, it'll feel like 18 to 22, and upper 30s in the valley, feeling like 20 to 27. So we've kind of nudged that timing up a little bit in terms of the lower wind chill values compared to the earlier timing we had. So the bottom line is we're going from the 70s in the afternoon, feeling like 18 to 27 by midnight. That's about a 9-hour difference for that temperature to fall, the apparent temperature to fall of approximately 40 to 50 degrees. So we really have to be on our toes here to be ready. Hard freezes, no change there. We're looking at tomorrow morning below 28 for all but the lower valley. The hard freeze warnings are in Willacy County. We have it in northern Hidalgo. We don't have it in Star yet, but we do think the ranchlands of Star may get to the hard freeze as well. And there's your time frames there for both Friday and Christmas Eve day. A bit longer duration, especially inland, where it'll be colder, faster, and longer with clear skies, or mostly clear skies, as you get into the mid and upper valley up to the brush country. As far as winds, no change here as well. There'll be a very sharp increase in the winds, 25 to 35, gusting to 40 or more miles per hour soon after sunset tonight, and continuing for several hours and then all night along the coast. And we may see gusts of 50 or higher, Port Isabel, South Padre, for a few hours east of the highway, again near the coast, with some lesser winds in the mid and upper valley. Still going to be windy out there, but the duration and the strength will be a bit lower as you get farther west towards the brush country, places like Star and Zapata County. On the Gulf, though, a big problem here, like we've mentioned, sustained gale force winds 40 mile per hour plus, with gusts up to 55 miles per hour starting late this evening, or mid-evening actually, and through Friday afternoon. Other impacts, we're still watching the increasing chances, really not increasing anymore, they're about the same as they were yesterday, for light sleet, perhaps some icing from freezing rain, east of IH-69E, Cameron, mainly Cameron County, possibly Willacy County, Friday night through Saturday morning. We also may see a pocket of freezing drizzle Friday morning as well during the surge of cold air with some moisture just near the surface, enough to create that. So we have to be really careful. This again would favor the coast, Port Isabel, South Padre, up to Port Mansfield. So the impact bottom lines, really no change here, so we'll zip through it. Hypothermia to unprotected people. Livestock and pets could be killed if not provided relatively warm locations. Cold sensitive crops are at very high risk due to the very low temperature and the very low humidity, especially in the growing area. We'll show you that shortly. With those effective temperatures could freeze the fruit on the vine and on the trees. And then the sea and bay water will plunge to or below 50 degrees between midday and sunset Friday, probably falling into the 40s by the time we get to Saturday, which will put the sea turtles at risk and require a mass rescue event, not only here, but along the entire Texas coast. We mentioned the exposed pipes, especially with water in them, could burst, so try to drain them out as soon as possible. And the key here for all of this, with wind and with the temperatures, is to be ready by sunset. We can't stress that enough. All the forecasts that we've been talking about really since Monday and Tuesday is coming to fruition in the next few hours. So your impact timeline, no change to that at all. We're keeping the same impact timeline. This evening it hits. Tonight it gets really bad. Tomorrow morning it peaks in terms of the worst impacts overall across the region. Friday afternoon, not much better. And Friday night it gets cold again. So the winds will be a bit less, but we'll still have a wind chill out there, as we're about to show you. So here's your sharp change in apparent temperatures. Once again, you saw this information earlier, but we're not changing a thing. 60 to 65 degree feels like temperature drop in just 18 hours. Again, we nudge these numbers around here and there, but they're plus or minus a degree. So overall, the message is still the same. And then we'll add Saturday morning to it. There's still a breeze going on Saturday morning, especially in the lower mid-valley and generally east of Interstate 69C, which goes into Brooks County as US 281. Enough breeze will keep those temperatures down in the teens, the apparent temperature, into Saturday morning. And there's still a 5 to 10 mile per hour breeze out here in the Rio Grande Plains and brush country that's going to make it feel cold once again. During the day on Friday, only rising to 25 to 30 despite more sun than clouds, except the lower valley, we expect overcast skies here. But as you get farther west into Westlake, O'Donnell, McAllen, Sullivan City, Edinburgh, we're going to see a lot more sunshine, and that should take a little bit of edge off the feels like temperature, but still with the breeze out there, not all that much warmer than it will be in the morning. And then we'll rise a little bit more on Saturday afternoon, those apparent temperatures up to 35 with the highest values in the mid and upper valley. So the probability of a hard freeze, meaning below 28, is still highest across the ranch country, but also quite fairly high across everywhere. So while we only have a freeze warning in for southern Hidalgo and Cameron County, there will be pockets that we think could get down to 27 or lower for a few hours. And remember, the key here is the effective temperature, known as the wet bulb. We're talking dew points, a measure of moisture in the air, maybe 0 or lower in the core part of our citrus growing region, western Cameron, especially Hidalgo County, which will make the effective temperatures down in the upper teens to lower 20s, not only late tonight, but all the way into midday, if not later on Friday. And then once again, starting up Christmas morning into the mid-morning, Christmas Eve morning, the 24th, and continuing through about noon on that day. And the repeated hits of this cold air is going to cause a lot of issues for the citrus. So there's your timing, and there's the message. Heavily damaged, exposed, and in unprotected sensitive crops and plants beginning late tonight, early Friday, but just kind of adding insult to injury Saturday and probably again Sunday morning as well. Your highest hard freeze chances across the northern ranch lands of the brush country and the coastal plains, now a 9+ in 10 chance, with those effective temperatures a little bit lower up there, 15 to 20. And again, this could be deadly to unprotected livestock, not just for the temperature and the humidity alone, but the sharpness of the change, going from literally 70s today to an effective temperature in the upper teens to lower 20s by early to mid-morning after daybreak on Friday and again on Saturday morning. These are your low temperature forecasts, not including the wind chill. Again, your hard freeze area north of the valley, but again, sneaking ever so close to the populated region, especially the agricultural growing regions here, and really more impactful on Saturday morning when we'll have clear skies and slightly lighter winds. Even Christmas morning is still going to be darn chilly out there with the freezes localized more to the northern ranch country from Jim Hogg over through Kennedy County. The hours of freeze duration really haven't changed any since yesterday. Could possibly be 1 hour more or 1 hour less depending on where you are. But overall, the message is clear. Very long duration freezes across the ranch country. It's still a decent duration freeze, including the agricultural growing area of Hidalgo County, Willacy County, over into Starr County, where we have more of the livestock there too. So just not a good scene. Here's your warnings and your advisories. Wind chill warning everywhere. You already saw the numbers. Our criteria basically are 20 degrees or lower for the valley, 15 degrees lower from Zapata to Kennedy County. We are looking at 10 to 15 up there and 15 to 20 down here. So everyone's in the wind chill warning from midnight tonight through mid to late morning tomorrow. And then hard freeze and freeze warnings, as we mentioned before, we now have freeze warnings everywhere but the immediate coastline of Cameron County. But we do think we'll touch freezing on South Padre Island, so we may have to extend that later on. But everywhere else is under at least a freeze warning with the hard freeze to the north. And there's your time frames all the way until noon. It'll be a slow rise tomorrow morning to get those temperatures to come up. And we have wind advisories in effect. These are for the strong wind, 25 to 40, gusting to 50. Favorite areas along and east of Highway 77, Interstate 69E, as we mentioned before, with the best chance of the 50-mile-per-hour gusts being in Bayview, Port Mansfield, Port Isabel, South Padre, Laguna Vista right now. But we can still see gusts near 50 all the way over to the populated areas of Brownsville, Harlingen, and Raymondville. So really take care to have all those things tightened down or moved indoors. And we will have those power outages, as we mentioned, when you combine the stress on the grid and all that wind. High temperatures tomorrow and Saturday, quite chilly. These are 30 to 35 degrees below the average for this time of year. And even Christmas Day, another reinforcing shot of cool air coming down. So while it seems like it's warmer, and it is, the atmosphere is taking its good time warming up. So again, 25 degrees below average on Christmas Day. So keep those coats and those ugly sweaters handy for the next few days. One thing we did note is that mainly west of Interstate 69E, we could touch 40 on Friday afternoon. That is not forecast here, but full sunshine, even at this pattern down here in the Rio Grande Valley, can warm us up a little bit, take a little edge off of that chill out there. But still, 40 degrees is still 30 degrees below the average, so quite a bit cold out there. Marine, we really don't want small craft going out after sunset tonight. Hopefully everybody is safe and in port. Larger craft, such as shipping and military vessels, will really be facing this Beaufort Sea State 8. There's no change in the forecast here. Sea heights are a variation. We're looking at a general sea height of 15 to 20 with very to extremely rough conditions, but we could see up to 25 feet in a few pockets. That is a real serious event here. We typically don't see seas like that outside of tropical events. So it's a really bad situation for boating and the fishermen, etc. Hopefully no small craft will be out there, because to be honest with you, a small craft caught in this kind of an event will flip over, will capsize. The cold temperatures of the surf and the roughness of it, really there's very little chance of survival from that. So we really hope that everybody is safe in port. We mentioned that wintry precipitation near the coast. Well, this is our current forecast. Disregard the light green here. We're talking a mixed bag of sleet or ice pellets, more of a conversational event than an impactful event, but we can't rule it out as a reasonable worst case. So as we've been mentioning earlier on, the highway east, especially Brownsville to San Benito, and then all the way to the coast. Right now, temperatures on the coast could be as cold as 33, with dropping to 31 if it does precipitate there. A little window could happen Friday morning, and then a better opportunity for Friday night late into Saturday morning. And everything should pretty much be over after that. But really you have to be concerned with the possibility as to not be surprised if you see some little pellets of ice falling from the clouds tomorrow morning, and then especially tomorrow night and Saturday morning. Again, mainly near the Cameron County coast and possibly all the way up towards Port Mansfield and the Padre Island National Seashore. You get farther west, Westlake, O'Donnell, Edinburgh, McAllen, we're talking few to scattered, maybe broken clouds at times, but a higher cloud base. And we do expect to see the stars and the moon through that. And the farther west you go, it'll be fully clear. And that's where temperatures at night, at least, will get coldest. Coastal issues, we're still looking at that problem. If you are on South Bay, Highway 4, which is along the edge of South Bay, these strong winds will push the water over Highway 4. It may require a closure out there by Boca Chica Beach on the way to SpaceX. And the narrow beaches are likely to continue to flood up to the dune line. We have a little bit of a break today, which is nice, but the flow of water will be coming in versus staying out, not necessarily tonight, but by tomorrow and all the way through the weekend. So we're going to lose the beach, narrow beaches up to the dune line, wider beaches, probably 2/3 to possibly all of it will be under some water. But honestly, the weather will be pretty darn nasty to be out there. But if you're thinking about going out to take a walk in the cold, really won't be good conditions to do that, especially near high tide, which are basically in the evening periods. Then finally, comparing between 83 and 89, once again, no change from what we said yesterday. We are basically saying it's the coldest Christmas time since 89, but this forecast will not be quite as cold as that year. So don't make a direct comparison. It's just something to look at as a guideline or a guidepost to the fact that it hasn't been this cold since then. But again, it will not be the same, which was a killing freeze in both 83 and 89. But this could do that to some crops, as we mentioned before. Those are your numbers from both of those years. And once again, the White Christmas in 2004 was not quite the same. It was more moist. We had generally warmer temperatures leading in until Christmas Eve when it got really cold and the snow that night. And then by Christmas Day, we're up over 50 and the next day into the 60s. As you can see, it's going to take a few days to get us back into the 60s after we crash out later tonight. So key recommendations to review: people, pets, plants, pipes, prepared and winterized. Again, I should have put the before sunset Thursday to start, but there you go, before sunset today. Check your vehicles for battery and coal critical items. We've already gone over the crop growers and ranchers. All the protective actions should be completed by now. And sea turtle rescue volunteers should be ready to go. Again, you won't be able to go when the winds and the waves are crashing around and those temperatures are getting lower on the sea surface, but ultimately, hopefully by Christmas Day, people can get out there to do it, maybe as early as Christmas Eve afternoon, but it looks like it's going to be still rough out there to try to approach the surf. So, but you may be able to get some that wash up. So big mass rescue event coming up. Just hopefully we're all ready to do that. And then scattered to locally numerous power outages are likely, especially along and east of the highway. Anticipate that and be winterized with their homes once again, repeating before sunset tonight. The next briefing, there will not be another webinar today, obviously, but if there's a demand, we can do one more on Friday. But again, we know you'll be in response phase at that point, so we're more than willing to just do it by email. But if you want to do a webinar, we can schedule that one out this afternoon and have it ready for you by tomorrow. And we can do that anytime you like, but we like this 2 p.m. time frame. Being a Friday, we could go earlier if you like. But once again, if there's not enough demand, we'll just go with emails from here on out because we know you all will be busy going through the response phase and ultimately into recovery phase. And with that, I will end the recording and we'll open the floor for questions.